Just look at this, a blanket of snow over Bedfordshire. Now, there aren't many hills in our part of the country, so it's great to come up on the downs in Dunstable, and it's a great place to come for a walk, and lots of people do come here. But it's a different story down in the town. Shops have been closing and people have been shopping elsewhere. New research for the BBC shows that the number of empty shops on the high street is increasing across the country. So can Dunstable recover, or should it be allowed to die? This is Dunstable, and last year it was visited by an unimpressed Queen, BBC TV's Mary, Queen of Shops.
The mortgage shop.
Woolly's gone.
One there.
That's the whole run, practically.
Yeah, pretty
It looks
much.
like a cemetery, doesn't it? Sorry,
Yeah.
I know that sounds a bit tough, but it actually does look like a cemetery.
Yeah.
It's just an impossible situation. I don't know what the answer is.
Well, that was the verdict of Mary Portis on Dunstable about a year ago. So I've come to the town to see what's happened since her visit. Last year, there were more than 50 vacant shop units. Since then, some have opened, but others have closed. But along this promenade, there are empty shops. There's one here, another one here, there's one down there. So the big question is, can the town recover, or will Dunstable die?
Portis in storm over process over town put down.
Sharon Warboys and Sharon Knott saw the Mary Portis programme and were outraged. So, with no retail experience themselves, they started a campaign to save the town.
Both Sharon and I are born and bred in Dunstable, and we're quite passionate about it. And quite often when you live in a town, it's okay for you to say things about it, but when somebody else comes along and starts, for want of a better word, slagging off your town, it gets your back up, and it did get a lot of people's back up. We've been described as activists. That's quite nice in a way, but I just think that it's purely driven by the passion that we've got to see the town go back to what it was like. We're just two housewives that have decided that we hopefully are going to make a change.
Now, the Sharons are very determined and very impressive, and you can't really doubt their sincerity. But without meaning to sound rude, they're not exactly professionals. So can they really save a town?
Where is this? It could be absolutely anywhere, couldn't it? Yeah. Is there anything?
Lee Sparks is a professor and doctor of retail studies. This is the first time he's been to Dunstable, but he can offer advice to help the Sharons, even if they might not like what he's got to say.
This just looks ugly. Some nice old buildings.
Why do you think the town's become like this?
In one sense, it's probably a victim of its own success. This is a crossroads, clearly a major crossroads, so over time, as people congregated around the crossroads, businesses developed here and grew all over the directions. But we've changed our lifestyles, and that success that grew this town really now is no longer there. Why do we always want to protect the old high street, a nostalgic view of what it was like in the 1940s and the 1950s perhaps, when really that function is probably better concentrated in particular areas, and those old shop units perhaps taken back into residential use, perhaps put into some other sorts of use.
So do you think that a part of a town should be allowed to die to save the rest of it?
Die is probably rather too strong a word, because really it's all about change. So for towns these days, given out-of-town shopping, given accessibility to cities and towns around the place, and internet shopping, you've probably got to think that town centres have to shrink somewhat and have to become more concentrated.
A new survey commissioned by Inside Out from the local data company suggests that all high streets have been hit by changing shopping patterns and the economy. Dunstable has one of the highest proportion of vacant shops in the region. The picture is improving, and that could be partly thanks to the Sharons campaign.
We campaigned to get the business rates revaluated in Dunstable. We had letters from huge amounts of businesses in Dunstable.
Yeah, the valuation officers come down to Dunstable. They then said that nothing could be done because everything's been set in stone in 1066 or whenever. But then I think they found, it obviously wasn't a loophole, but they found that actually the rates could be reduced, and everybody, or most of the shops in Dunstable, have had quite a good cut and a reduction in their business rates.
Not bad for a couple of amateurs from Dunstable.
Not bad for a couple of grandmas.
Yeah.
There are signs of growth. Just off the high street is this small shopping centre called Eleanor's Cross. Over the past year, 18 new shops have opened in the town, including this vintage dress shop. Hi, Sally Ann.
Hello.
Doing the finishing touches there, this lovely young lady. So how's business for you?
It's going quite well. I have good days and bad days, but on the whole, meeting all my targets and it's going really well. You just put it over your shoulders and it's got a hook and eye just here. Well, I got a really good deal on the rent here and I get small business relief on the rates, which worked out really good for me. But I also just fell in love with the shop, the whole layout of the shop. It was just the right size for one person to run.
High streets are changing. This old clothes shop will be a beauty salon within a week. The new research for Inside Out shows a shift from traditional shops to services like nail bars and cafes. Anything that's not available online.
This one's about between 13 and 14 feet, so still a youngster.
Like Wrigley's Reptiles, another success.
We've been here 2 years, working opened in August 2008, and we've been really surprised by how busy it's been. We opened just at the start of the recession, and we thought maybe we shouldn't, maybe we should, but we just thought, what the hell, let's go for it, and we've been really surprised by it. It's been really, really good.
Professor Sparks is meeting the two Sharons to share his diagnosis. Will they like the doctor's medicine?
Can I just ask, do you think that our campaign will make a difference? Can it help?
Is it enough on its own? No, obviously not. There's going to have to be investment from property holders, engagement from retailers, the council's going to have to get involved, and importantly consumers within this market, within Dunstable, have to get involved as well in order to make Dunstable work. But campaigns have to start somewhere, and doing it both in this publicity vein, putting it on Facebook, Twitter, making it a noisy campaign is a great way to start, so well done on that. But a lot of it will be putting some pressure on the property holders and the council to do the right things by some of the properties that are lying around looking rather neglected, disappointing. It's changing that to change the face of Dunstable, really.
But as we all know, local authorities are short of money, so the Sharons can't expect much cash from the councils.
With the current economic climate, that councils do not have lots of surplus money, especially on their capital side. And obviously we will be heavily relying on the private sector to invest in the town. And we know that, again, nationally, investment into shopping centres has been slower than of previous years. So we are obviously doing the best we can to encourage private investment.
That doesn't daunt the Sharons. They intend to involve the whole community, and many shopkeepers are already signed up.
I'd like to say thank you to you all for coming along this afternoon to get together to talk about how we're going to help Dunstable revive itself and get more shops into town. So it's over to you to give your opinions.
If people were aware of what is available in Dunstable, instead of everyone getting this idea that it's just a drive-through town, I think, you know, things would happen and things would improve.
I think Dunstable's up and coming, and I think we should, if more shops came into Dunstable, just to add a bit of vibrancy to the area.
Our biggest problem, and what I feel that is a shame, is that when you have a great shop, you know, in town, next door is a notable building, you know, closed and looking dirty.
What do you think the solution is? What do you think the council can do?
Just clean the shops up. There's so many empty ones, and they all look filthy. Even the private-owned ones, the council should be onto the private owners. Come on, get it cleaned up. It's disgusting.
There should be some legislation that says it's got to be a clean frontage, even if the inside doesn't look too good, because that itself will encourage people who are driving through the town not just to shop here, but looking for businesses.
So do you think if Dunstable were left to its own devices, it would die?
It would, I think so, yeah, definitely. These ladies have helped out so much.
If she were here now, what would you say to Mary Portas about the state of Dunstable today?
I would say it's improving all the time, and we're a proud town, and we're gonna make it work and make it busy again and make it good.
Dunstable's here to stay, the passion's here, we will not let it go down.
Our High Street doctor, Professor Sparks, is much more positive than Mary Portas, but he still has a word of caution.
Town centres grow over time and they decline over time as well, so we need to think about what actually should be in particular places at particular points. Rather easy to say, rather more difficult to do on the ground given the mix of ownership, given the mix of shops and all the rest of it. But towns, residents, retailers, all businesses have to come together to that sense of place, or people will continue to go elsewhere.